Hey, welcome back to another exciting episode of Opera with Fries. As always, I am one of your hosts, Oren Gratis, joined by my wonderful colleagues,
Frank Basile.
And I'm Carl Tanner.
And today, all I can say is payback is a bitch. You want to tell us why, Carl?
Well, our guest today is, what can I say? He's American comedian, actor, writer, and director. He starred in television, film, radio. He's an author.
He's a true Renaissance man. I mean, that's how
absolutely.
I would describe him.
Do you have 9 children books now?
I don't know. I got a bunch.
Well, let's introduce it. Tell him who it is.
Please welcome to our show, Michael Ian Black.
Hello, Joe.
Yeah. So, Michael, how are you? Thanks for coming on and doing this.
Yeah.
I think he's regretting it already.
No, it's not. I'm regretting it. It's that I'm feeling the pangs of remorse that I screwed you over last week because I forgot.
And so you can have all this pain over with,
like you said. So I'm willing to take the slings and arrows.
Well, it was a nice teaser. We recorded that episode and we've edited it and put it together, and it's going to go up today. And this episode is going to go up next week. So we're excited. But let me ask you. You and I were going back and forth. So you think my people pitched your people to get me on your show?
Yeah, I have a podcast, so it's now on hiatus, called How to Be Amazing, which is a long form interview show. And Carl, you were one of our first, I feel like, 5 guests. And I'm almost sure it was my producers, and I don't know how they learned about your story, but you were one of the first names that came up, and they said, you got to get this guy on. And I was like, absolutely. When they told me your deal, I was like, it sounds fascinating. And to this day, it's one of the episodes that people talk about quite a bit.
That's very cool. Yeah, I went and listened to it. I loved it. I thought, God, we went an hour and 5 minutes, hour and 4 minutes, something like that. And
that's short for you, Carl.
Michael, were you able to get in a word in edgewise at all, or no?
Really?
It was just Carl droning on for an hour.
I sat back and listened to him unspool his tail.
Yeah, just turn on go, and Carl's got it.
Yeah. No, we had a good time. Do you always record in that same studio?
Yeah. Well, almost always. It's a little studio on West 23rd Street. In New York City, and that's the one that we have used more than any other. There have been times when I've recorded from Carnegie Hall Studios, and a couple times when I've done it from home, but that's the one that we usually use, yeah.
But wait a minute. Did you not record on the Upper West Side? On Central Park West?
When we
that's
first
where
started, there was a studio that we were using that was on the Upper West Side. So yes, that's probably entirely correct.
Central Park West and like 80th.
Fifth Avenue or what?
Really what's that?
Where was that studio on Upper West Side?
I can't remember the address, but it was owned by this really eccentric guy who it was in his apartment, the studio, and everything was cluttered with like bobbleheads and weird radio memorabilia.
Yes.
And yeah, this really kind of eccentric dude who'd been recording up there forever. And when we first started, that's where we were going.
I'm getting some breathing feedback. Who is this? Frank, you're not even near your mic, are you?
No, but I usually am, and I breathe really heavy.
Oh, you know what? You're picking up the mic from your earphones, buddy.
Me?
Yes.
My earphones right here?
Yeah, scroll. Yeah, there's a mic right there where your button is.
There's no mic there, bro.
No?
These are cheap-ass earplugs.
No. Okay.
They don't even have the...
All right.
Well, it just sounded like...
Technical issues aside. So, Michael, I have to ask you, just with everything going on in the news, I mean, your career is... I see you all the time on news shows and TV shows and movies
Comedy
and
Central,
comedy, everything. But the first thing I want to ask you about is your child's book, the child's first book of Trump, because are you going to write a sequel now? I'm sure you have plenty of fodder now for a sequel book.
Well, I wrote a child's first book of Trump, which is a children's book parody. So I do write children's books.
Yeah.
And then in 2015, when it looked like he was going to get the nomination, I thought there's kind of a funny opportunity here. So I wrote it really quickly. It got published really quickly in terms of book time. We wanted to get it out before the convention, the Republican convention. It came out. And then to my surprise, he won. And also to my surprise, and I'm almost sad about it. It has become my best-selling book that I've ever written.
What was the angle of it? If you don't mind, what was the angle of that book?
The angle is, it's like a Dr. Seuss book explaining what a Trump is. And so the Trump is kind of this monster that lives off in the wild, and what to do if you should see one. And it's all told in verse, and it explains like the nature of the Trump and how it thrives on oxygen, and basically what you do when you should see it is ignore it and it will go away. That has become impossible.
Well, what's hysterical to me about it, when I was reading about, when I looked up the book, is on Amazon. My favorite thing is the reviews of it. So you have all these 5-star reviews, and you have all these 1-star reviews. There's nothing in the middle. So we know obviously who gave him the 5-star and who gave him the 1-star.
You love it or hate it.
Yeah,
you either love it
no
or you hate it.
mystery about who received it well and who didn't.
Hysterical. I was laughing. So I thought maybe it's time for a sequel, or how to get rid of the Trump monster now that
what's funny is I did write a sequel after the election, and I showed it to my editor, and he was like, you know what? It's not funny anymore. I was like, yeah, you're right.
Well, was there anything, Michael, was there anything in it that was prophetic that you actually see as coming through to life besides, because obviously if you just ignore it, it doesn't go away.
Well, so obviously my prophecy was incorrect.
That's right.
I have no future as an oracle.
but one as a comedian for sure. Oh man, I'm curious about your audition. Not even your audition, but you substituted for the late night show, did you not? For a while.
Yeah, if you recall, before Craig Ferguson had the CBS show, it was Craig. Why am I blanking on his name? Another Craig. And when he left, they basically did a kind of competition, I guess, to see who would take over. Craig Kilborn.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Craig Kilborn. Yep.
Yeah.
And I did about a week and a half, I guess, of hosting that show. And it basically came down to me and Ferguson. And now I'm just waiting to hear.
Yeah. Well, but now when your management team puts you out there, do they just say he's open for anything because you do everything? I mean, I can't think of anyone else in the business who I can see you in any medium. Really, I mean, that's really true.
Well, what happened with that specifically was I was doing a show called Ed on NBC, and the company that made Ed is Worldwide Pants, which is David Letterman's company. The head of Ed is a guy named Rob Burnett, who was the head of Worldwide Pants. Worldwide Pants also controlled the Craig Kilborn time slot. Mm-hmm. So I had basically an inside track, and Rob was the one who said, I think you could do this and you'd be really good for it. And Rob was sort of my champion who got me in there. And I'd done a little bit of hosting of like some NPR shows and stuff like that, but not on television. So initially what happened is I did a couple nights, and then basically they brought me back to do a full week. And
did you feel comfortable right off the bat?
Within the first couple episodes, I started to feel comfortable. You know, it's a funny thing, those shows, as the host, there's a lot to manage. There's a lot to keep track of and a lot to pay attention to. And then you're simultaneously trying to have an engaging conversation with somebody. Yeah. You know, you're kind of keeping a lot of balls in the air.
And feel relaxed.
and feel relaxed and be funny and quick on your feet. But yeah, within a couple episodes, I feel like I understood at least the parameters of the job. I don't know that I was necessarily good at it, but I think I would have been good at it, given the time to learn how to do the job. But sure. I have no regrets. I mean, I thought I did a great job for the week that I did it.
And you got paid.
Yeah, I guess so.
I hope they
guess
paid
so.
well. Well,
Not to be a guest host. It doesn't pay shit, but
No.
if you get the gig, it pays pretty well.
So is there one particular thing you like more than the other? The writing, the acting, and is there one form of what you do that you think that really gets you going?
I like the part where they give you a check.
yeah, amen.
I think we feel the same way.
Yeah.
That part's terrific.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
When it clears the bank, it's even better.
Yeah, and we were just talking before we went on the air that you have one child in college and another one getting ready to go to college. So that check is a very good thing.
See, now, Michael, I look at you, and you just look too
I'm sorry.
young to
The
have
phone
kids.
just rang. They said, "Don't call us. We'll call you."
Just
so you know.
I've gotten that call before.
Michael, I'm not going to ask your age, but I look at you, and when we did the interview together, I'm sitting there looking at it thinking, this guy does not have kids in his early teens.
Well, he started when he was, 11?
Yeah.
I've got a 19-year-old and a 17-year-old. I'm 49.
You're
So-
49?
You look
Yeah,
great,
what's this-
man.
Yeah, I don't know what
Amazing.
the secret is.
Jeez.
No, look, I'm a great
You're like
looking-
26.
You're 49. I mean, Oren's 46, and he looks like your father, for God's sake.
Fuck you. It is true, actually.
Wow.
Frank's 24.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, a
I got shoes
I
in
don't know,
a
are you
24
dyeing
and
your
underwear.
hair? That's what I want to know.
a
if you're
very
dyeing your
rough
hair.
24.
Very rough. Oh, perfect.
Yeah, I didn't have my son till I was 30.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah.
I really.
Wait, how'd you meet your wife?
We were working on a TV show together called The State. It was my first TV show, a sketch comedy show on MTV. And she was working there and I was working there.
She an actress?
No, she's an interior designer.
Oh, wow.
Can't you see how lovely his house is in the background?
Yeah, I'm looking at the back. It's beautiful.
I was going to say, it's beautifully designed.
Is she in design that? I had a bookshelf look just like that, Michael, actually, upstairs in our apartment on Central Park West.
Looks like you have one of those bars that the ladder goes down. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There it
Oh,
is,
there
right
it is.
there.
Yeah, look at that.
Very fancy.
Now, have you actually read all those books?
He wrote
No.
all of them.
No, not
He
by a
wrote
long
all
shot.
of them.
He wrote all of them.
I've
wrote
read
all of them.
a lot of them. I mean,
Yeah.
you're looking at my bookshelf.
Now, I don't want to give out your street address, but you live in Connecticut, right?
Yes, I live in the wilds of Connecticut.
I love the window with
Beautiful.
the trees.
Yeah,
man,
you
back
can
there.
see the trees behind me.
Yes.
Gorgeous.
Is that where you sit and watch sports right there?
When I watch sports, which is never, that is
Oh.
where I sit and watch.
You don't
you-
watch
do you,
sports at all?
You know what? It's not that I don't like sports. It's that I get bored. I like watching anything about sports. Like I just loved. Have you seen the Formula One documentary, Drive to Survive, on Netflix?
I
Like
have.
I don't care about Formula One, and yet I know so much about Formula One now.
Can you
Having
can you
watched-
can you
I
show
love
us
the
your Super
Netflix
Bowl rings?
formula. But
Yeah, my Super Bowl rings are locked in a safe deposit box.
How do you get
I
Super
did
Bowl
spend
rings?
9 years in the NFL.
I was
did
gonna
live
say,
in-
how did you get that? What was that about? Those rings?
So
I
this is
read.
a running joke that I have on my Twitter feed.
That you and
And-
was it that you and Robert Kraft were used to go to the the massage parlors together?
It started because, I tweet political stuff fairly regularly. And whenever anybody does that, you're going to get besieged with trolls. And one of the common tactics that trolls do to like aggravate you is to go, who are you? Like, why should I care about you? Like, and so I just made up a thing, which was I spent 9 years in the NFL and I have 2 Super Bowl rings. And so that's why you should care about me. Obviously a complete and total fabrication if you know anything about me. And so that has just become a running joke that I have 9 years in the NFL, 2 rings. And that has become my biography.
That's great.
Did they ever ask what position did you play?
Yeah, and people ask all the time. And I
Yeah,
say,
what do you
hey,
tell them?
I'm like, I played football, man. I'm just
Any
as
position,
vague about it as I can possibly be.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
I went to a Super Bowl party actually once with a gentleman who.
and you saw Michael there?
Well, no, I didn't see Michael, but it was Dick Butkus and all these guys are there, and I actually went as a guest of
They're
a
good friends
gentleman
of
who
Michael, actually. Michael hangs out
started
with
the.
Dick Butkus all the time. That's what I heard.
Yeah. Well, my buddy started the Vince Lombardi Foundation, and so I went there, and he introduced me as his bodyguard. This guy's like 6'6", built like a brick shit house, and I'm thinking, Listen, I'm small. Everybody in there made me look tiny, quite frankly. But it was nice occasion when the girls would come up and say, "What position did you play?" And I played in high school.
Was that 100? Frank, was that 100 pounds ago?
No, it was actually about 10 pounds heavier back then.
Wait, I actually heard a story about a guy who used to tell people that he played third base for the Phillies to pick up girls.
Yeah.
He would come to a bar and they're like, "What do you do?" He's like, "I used to play third base for the Phillies."
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, it works. So.
And it worked.
It worked.
Oh man, I'm curious, just because when we knew you were coming on, Michael, I was wondering, did you know Jack Riley?
No. Who's Jack Riley?
Jack Riley was a wonderful comedian. He was a dear friend, and it just
Lived
came
in
into
New
my
Jersey.
mind. No, Jack Riley. Remember the Bob Newhart show?
He was the
Riley was the key.
He was the Jackie Mason of Secaucus.
No. Jack Riley was he was in the Bob Newhart show. He was the patient that always kind of wandered in and just, took his time. But he's a very funny comedic actor. But I was out in L.A. about, I guess, 15 years ago, and Jack wanted to go to an Angels game. And he said, "I'm going to bring a couple of buddies of mine." So I said, "Okay." And I had my van. My wife and I were out there. So I went and picked up Jack, and it turns out it was his agent and 5 other comedians. So I was driving to an Angels game about 2.5 hours north with 6 comedians and an agent, and they were all trying to get the next job by doing their bits in the car.
That sounds like a joke right there.
Well, it was a funny
thing. It was a
No,
totally
actually,
well, it was. What's funny is that everybody kept jumping in, and I just sat and drove. I felt intimidated as hell. I wasn't about to even say any innuendos.
I'll tell you a story. Actually, my father met. My father is Israeli. He met. He was doing an art festival, and the old Jewish guy comes and sits down, and everybody's coming up to him, and they're like asking for this guy's autograph. And my father doesn't know anybody. He said, he goes, "What are you, famous or something?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, I'm a Henny Youngman." And my father goes, "Who's Henny Youngman?" So because of that, they struck up a friendship.
Well, I was curious, Michael. What comedians did you love? Like, because who intimidates you? Who would intimidate you to be in a room with that you would almost make you feel like I don't know what to say? Like Mike, who would that have been?
Well, it's so funny. It's like there's a lot of comedians who continue to intimidate me, because I'm not the funniest guy in the room hardly ever. But the guys who I like,
you're the smartest guy in the room. That's
very smart.
I'm by far the smartest guy in the room, particularly in this room. But
amen, brother. Well, hey, you know what? I'm the smartest guy in my room. I just want you to know that I am the smartest guy in this room.
When I was growing up, the comedians who I really loved were Woody Allen, Bob Newhart, George Carlin, Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor, Bill Cosby. But I wasn't like a big comedy nerd. I just liked those guys. I wasn't like planning on being a comedian.
Well, how did you end up becoming a comedian if you found that you're like not as like have a joke on hand? Like I don't either.
You must have a background in political science, stuff like that. I mean, or is it just you just have your perspective on the world?
It was a series of events beginning in my freshman year of college when I helped to start the sketch comedy troupe, the one that I mentioned. Mm-hmm. We ended up with our own show, and suddenly I was unexpectedly a comedian. I was unexpectedly doing comedy for a living.
But where did the political commentary? People always wanted you to give a lot of people were asking you for your political perspective in a funny way, but.
Oh, but I'm not. I mean, like, I'm not a political comedian in particular. I just have strong opinions, and I say them on Twitter. I'm annoying as hell.
And then people laugh. I mean, you don't try to be funny. You're just trying to tell your views, and then all of a sudden,
I'm trying to be funny about it. But a lot of times, I'm just like being that annoying liberal friend who like won't shut up. Like. I'm just the worst.
And they pay you to be this. That's amazing.
No, they don't. That's the thing. If they paid me, I would have gotten fired a long time ago because I'm not funny.
So you're a comedian who works for free just so you can speak.
Well, on Twitter, that's free. That's me just.
I do have to say, I do have to say that. I mean, this is for Carl. I'm curious why you didn't go into gay porn, because I mean, one of your most famous moments. I mean, Bradley Cooper said you were the greatest on-screen kiss he's ever had.
Who?
So-
Carl or Michael?
No,
I was just kidding.
Michael.
Michael, you had to kiss Bradley Cooper?
Had to. Come on.
He
a
wanted
dream.
to. You kid, it's a
You
dream.
wanted to.
We
I mean-
we had a fairly graphic sex scene in the movie Wet Hot American Summer. It was
You
both of our
you beat me to it. I was just about to bring that
Sorry.
up. Go on.
I
Yeah,
didn't
go ahead.
see that. Forgive me. I have to go rent
So
that
tell
this
us about it.
afternoon.
How was it?
Yeah.
There
well,
was a
you know,
future in it there, I think.
somehow it ended up much better for him than it did for me. I mean,
Oh, really? You must be a hell of a
really
kisser
took
then, right?
off after the fact. Mine didn't do so much. It was both of our first movie. It's a silly comedy called Wet Hot American Summer. And nobody knew who Bradley was. I was better known than he was, if you can believe it, at that time. And we just knew that we knew later in the shoot we were going to have this sex scene, and we just were basic. I think we were both nervous about it. I'm everybody's nervous about doing sex scenes, regardless of whether it's hetero or homo or three-way or whatever it is. You're going to be nervous about it. And we just decided, we're really gonna do this, fully commit to it and fully go for it to the best of our ability, and we did, and it was great. I mean, it was a really nice and fun scene to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you still go out every now and then together? No?
Yeah.
No.
Does Bradley call you?
Does Bradley call you?
He just moved to Connecticut, so
Did he?
maybe on some
Did he
lonely
really?
night, I'll text
Yeah,
him.
Exactly.
You got a scene I'd like to rehearse.
Let's create our sex scene. I met him 2 years ago. He came to the Metropolitan Opera, and I was in the middle of a rehearsal for Otello, and I look over and he's standing right next to me, and he's good friends with the conductor. Oh gosh, yes, exactly. And I look over and I see Bradley Cooper just standing there, and I'm singing and
he winked at
the
you,
other
didn't
guy, and he kind of looked over
He blew
and
you a kiss and winked at you.
grabbed my ass and goosed me and no, I just went over to him and I said, I think I caught him off guard. I just walked over to him. I said, I didn't say, hey, my God, you're Bradley. I just said, what are you doing here?
Mhm.
And he looked at me and he goes,
He thought Carl was security. He's like, wait,
yeah,
no, no.
yes, he did. Because he
Good
looked
reason.
around like, should I run? And I went, oh, no. I said, I just want, I'm
backstage, Carl?
I'm Otello. And he goes, no, I saw that. He goes, I'm friends with Gustav. And I said, oh, okay. I said, oh, yeah, I was just wondering. So,
So, Michael, now you can come hang out at the Met if you want.
Yeah, come on.
exactly.
You hang out in
Yeah.
New
So during
Jersey.
a break, we just had a little nice chat, and he hung out for a couple days and in and out, and then he left. So yeah.
That's awesome. What was
Yeah.
he doing there? Is he an opera fan?
No, he's one of the conductor's good friends.
I know, but to hang out there for a couple days during rehearsal, that's a lot.
I guess he was in Manhattan and he was hanging out with Gustav. Gustav,
Come on.
it was his debut at the Met, Dudamel's debut at the Met. So every time, I mean, they were hanging out in the canteen. So Gustav called me over to introduce me, and he said, no, we already met. So we sat at the table and talked a little bit, but just about music and stuff. And I think Gustav worked with him on The Star Is Born with music and stuff. So I think that's how they became really good friends, or maybe they became friends before that. So, I mean, because Gustav Dudamel, the conductor of the LA Philharmonic, he's like a superstar conductor.
Sure.
And so they became really, really close, and yeah, it was fun. It was nice meeting him.
Michael,
I didn't see the sexual attraction because, he's a good looking guy, but he's not my type.
Mhm.
Maybe I was thinking maybe if he was a little bit more Asian, maybe then, yeah.
Give him a kiss and see if your feelings start to change. They did for me.
I'll give him a ring.
Michael, do you go to the opera much at all?
No, the only time I've ever been is when I was actually working at an opera. I was my sophomore year of college. I volunteered to be like a dresser at City Center. They were doing Desire Under the Elms, a debut of that opera.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the only time I've really spent any time at the opera.
Michael, where'd you go to school? Where did you go to school?
NYU.
Okay.
Oh, did you went to Tisch? Or
Mhm.
yeah, you did.
Yeah, I was an
Okay.
acting student in Tisch.
Yeah.
Oh.
Good school. Good school.
And what were you studying? I mean, you just acting, right?
Just acting, yeah.
And you're
Okay.
originally from where? Chicago?
I was born in Chicago. I grew up in New Jersey.
And
Yeah.
and let's just say that Michael is a member of the tribe. I just want to point that out.
Full on.
Full
Tribe?
on member of the tribe. So
Yes. Well, you changed it, Mike. Your name. You changed the name was sort of
Schwartz.
changed to
I
Schwartz.
love this. So wait, so there was an actor named Michael Schwartz.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I
Okay,
knew
There was an
that.
actor named Michael Schwartz. I kind of wanted to change it anyway, just because it just sounded I don't know, just sort of like so pedestrian.
Schwartz.
Schwartz.
Schwartz. Sounds like
and
a
then
trio.
I joined the union, and I didn't have a choice. So Black is the translation of Schwartz, but there was a Michael Black. So then I was like, oh, and I just threw my middle name in there, and that ended up.
And
being
you became the most famous of all of them. So
There you go.
Yeah.
So now you can change it back to Schwartz, Black, anything you want.
I might just go to Mellencamp.
Yeah, there you go.
That one's been taken too, I think.
Do you know Michael? Oh God, now what the hell am I thinking? Michael Douglas.
Yeah.
Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton. His name is Michael Douglas,
No.
and Michael Keaton's last name is Michael Douglas.
Oh, that's
And so when I had an interview with him, or when we first met, he was telling me that his name is Michael Douglas. He said, but when he got out to LA, he realized there was some schmuck named Michael Douglas already in the business. And he said, so he was working with Diane Keaton on his first film. And he looked at her and he said, Keaton, Michael Keaton. You know, Michael Keaton sounds pretty good. What do you think? And she went, you think? And he said, yeah. He said, do you mind if I take your last name? She said, in marriage? And he said, no, what do you think? She goes, well, it does have a ring to it. So he went by Michael Keaton from then on. That's
such a weird, like if I was Diane Keaton, I'd be like a little weirded out that he did that.
I think she was. She was.
I actually knew a singer.
You'd want to kiss first.
I knew a girl in college who was convinced that her last name Rodriguez was too
Spanish,
generic, yeah, whatever.
Too generic.
She changed it to Lipinski, which was, and I was like, it was a beautiful name. It was like Magdo Rodriguez, and she changed it to Magdo Lipinski, and I said to myself, but
for years I've thought about changing my name to Carliano Tannerati.
I love it.
Do you guys like it?
I mean, you could, if opera doesn't work out, you could be a magician with that name.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah. My uncle, when my grandparents came from Italy, they never learned to speak English, but the kids had to be raised, in a bilingual home, living in America and going to school. So my uncle changed the pronunciation of our name from Basile to Basile in order to sound very American.
Yeah, but I don't have you.
Well, the thing is
I know
the problem is when I started to study opera, every teacher in Indiana said, your last name is pronounced Basile. You should say that. But I said, but then you have to speak with an accent or you sound fake.
Sure.
And so I stuck with Basile until I met my wife. And she said, oh, I love the name Basile, and I've always wanted to be Italian. So I said, well, then you will be Celeste Basile. And because of Celeste, that's why I'm now conflicted, because I do say Basile from time to time.
If you listen to our past broadcasts, Frank introduces himself with a different last name every show.
I know.
I'm Frank Basil. I'm Frank Basile.
I'll give you the inside scoop. Because of Celeste, every time I say Basile, I'm basically being in a tribute to her. So
now, where's Michael? Michael, I
don't know. He's froze. He's got a nice smile on the frozen picture here.
Not on me.
Do you not have me?
No, we just have a nice smiling picture of you.
I don't. I think that's just your computers.
Carl does that every now and then, Michael. He'll just freeze intentionally and make you think he's frozen.
So, Michael, how is it?
Frank, you're gone.
I'm gone too.
Are you an everyman living in Connecticut? I mean, not doing the LA lifestyle? Are you just, around town?
Yeah. I mean, I lived in LA for like a year and a half, from like 99 to 2000. And I was like, I hate it here.
Mm.
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, you know what? My career, or the career path that I'm on, I'm not willing to be miserable in this place I don't want to live so that I can guest star on sitcoms. My wife and I, we were newly married, and we were just like, screw it. Like, we'll take our chances on the East Coast, and be happy, as opposed to sitting in Los Angeles and being miserable because we think we're supposed to be there. And it worked out.
Does it present any difficulties at all? I mean, are you flying? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's no question that from a professional point of view, I would be much better served in Los Angeles. There's just a lot more happening there. You're meeting people all the time and talking to them all the time and socializing with them all the time, and that can lead to work. But it wasn't worth it to me. It just wasn't worth it. Because what is for me, like, I just had to think it through. Like, what is the goal of my professional life? It's not to make money and be successful. Those are just a means to an end, and the end is happiness. So if I can sort of be happy geographically where I am and mentally where I am, like, why wouldn't I do that? And so that's what I did.
Very profound and wise.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you have that perspective, or did your wife help you find that perspective?
I think she would have stuck it out in LA if I'd wanted to.
Yeah.
No, it was probably more on me than her that we moved back, although she didn't like it either.
But she's from there, right?
No, she's from Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
She's a Minnesota girl, and we met in New York, moved to LA, and came back.
I got to tell you, the traffic in LA, I've been out there 3 or 4 times in the last 2 years. And every time I drive into LA or drive near LA, the traffic, I mean, I sat in traffic for 4.5 hours, and I went 4 miles.
Yep.
It was, I said, you know what? I'd never live here for that reason.
It's unbearable.
It's
unbearable. Honestly, I don't like the sun that much. Like, the sun's fine. Give me some sun.
Yeah, I know.
I don't need 345 days of it. It starts to feel oppressive. You're like, calm down, son.
Yeah.
Calm down. I need some rain.
Yeah, snow and fall, beautiful seasons.
Love it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I love the seasons.
I do too.
Have you been feel like things have been put on hiatus now with everything going on health wise?
Oh,
COVID,
yeah.
everything?
I mean, show business has been shut down for the last 8 months.
Yeah.
Things are starting to percolate back up a little bit, but it's still, I would guess about 85 to 90% shut down still.
Is your wife still working as a designer?
No, she is about to take a certification test. So she's studying for that. She was working, then she wasn't. Now she's trying to get to this next level of certification. When that's over, she's going to go back out and work again. But, her business is suffering too, because people don't, it's disposable income. And in a shaky economy, people aren't like, let's blow our wad on interior design.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Although some people are like nesting a lot, so they are investing. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Well, Carl, he could have hired her. That's for sure. He's created a whole new basement apartment. Carl?
Yeah.
Somebody's frozen again.
Yeah, no.
Carl, we lose you too?
No, he's...
No, I don't see. I only see Oren. I don't see Michael, and I don't see Frank.
You don't see me either.
I don't see you either.
But
that's all right. I see enough of you.
I know.
I don't get to see enough of Michael, so all I see is MB.
And as long as the engineer's recording everything, we're fine. That's.
I hope. Yeah, I hope it's coming.
We just have to walk by faith on that. Hey, we're going to ask Michael. Does he do much? Probably goes on the road quite a bit, don't you think, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think he has his?
Why are we speaking third person here?
Well, he's frozen. So as far as I'm concerned,
he's still alive.
He's a popsicle.
Michael, are you still with us?
I was literally looking at a frozen scene.
Something we're talking about Michael the third person. Like,
it's
Michael,
strange. I don't even see him at all.
It's like Frank suddenly give him a eulogy.
Well, we have this segment that I am really curious, because I'm sure being a comedian on the road is different than being an opera singer on the road sometimes. Because we have to go to bed at night. We have to come home and get our sleep and all that kind of stuff. Whereas, don't you guys like to go out and drink after shows and party and have a good time?
There are definitely comedians who do that. I don't know how long you guys have been, doing traveling and on the road, and I'm sure for years. But yeah, when there comes a point where it's like you show up in Knoxville and you're like, I've been to Knoxville. Like, I'm not excited to like go out in Knoxville. Like all I want to do after the show is like go back to my hotel room and maybe get like, a late meal or something. But I'm not out there.
I got to ask you, what's your favorite little podunk town? I'm curious.
My favorite what?
Podunk town that you've been to that you're like, this place is great. I
don't know that it's podunk, but every time every time I show up in Milwaukee, I'm like, I really like Milwaukee. And Milwaukee's like a funky little city.
I'm that way about Pittsburgh. I do
too.
Love Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Milwaukee's got a nice baseball season there too.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, if you show up at the right time, it's a hell of a town.
What I noticed about Milwaukee, and I'm not kidding you when I ask somebody about this, the entire place smells like a brewing factory. And I asked somebody, why is that? And they said because they take the leftover, I guess, hops or whatever, they put it into their cleaner. So actually my hotel smelled, and I was like, why does it smell like the inside of a brewery? And they said because it's actually in the cleaning fluid that they use. I don't know. They use some kind of local cleaning fluid that has, and that's why it smelled. Because the entire city.
With you there,
I'm telling you, the entire city smelled like old Milwaukee. I don't know. It had a smell to it.
Yeah. So, Michael, that segment that Frank touched on earlier, it's called Stories from the Road, and we ask our guests to tell a story that they necessarily wouldn't share with anybody to put you on the spot. You have something you might want to share with us that you don't want to share with us? So.
Once,
he's frozen.
When I was quite young, in my early 20s, and we had our TV show on MTV, a few of us decided that we were going to try to capitalize on our newfound fame by, in our off season, renting a van and traveling the country basically for the purpose of meeting girls and having sex with them. That was was basically what the trip was designed for. And we would go to like college towns, and we were college age. I mean, I was 22, I think. But the show was on and the show was popular. And we would just basically show up at college bars and hope to get recognized.
That's awesome.
That was your show.
That's great.
But the problem for me was I didn't drink. And so like I was just like annoying and shy, and I didn't meet anybody. The other guys were meeting girls, and I just was not meeting really anybody.
Like, who's the guy in the corner having a Diet Coke?
Basically. That's basically what it was. For 5 weeks, I was traveling around the country. And then like right towards the end, I think it was outside of Pittsburgh or something. I don't know how this happened, but we ended up in some girl's apartment, all of us. And I feel like they all like had found a girl, and I was of course by myself. And then they had a roommate who was like asleep, and she came out, and oddly her name was also Michael. And then
what?
Did she have a penis?
No. And then I could not tell you.
Did you check for a wig?
You sure?
I can't tell you how this happened. I have no idea how this happened. But
she became your girlfriend for the next 4 years.
No, but close. And somehow my next memory of that night is me in bed with her, having had sex with her, and being like, finally, like I met some.
I'm trying to think of how many guys have had sex with a girl named Michael before.
Well, how many guys have had sex with a girl named Michael and Bradley Cooper?
I know
Think
exactly.
about that.
You know what? Carl used to do the same things. We would go to like gay bars and stand there and hope people would recognize him from the opera.
Oh my god!
And they did. That's the
Yeah.
problem. You have a lot of opera queens,
Yeah.
you know, and they come over and they go, "Are you by chance the tenor?" Yes.
I am.
Actually,
So, you know, wait a minute.
You
I
are.
want to tell Michael this. So, Michael, I was in Knoxville. It was Knoxville.
Mhm.
And the opera was there. We were doing Butterfly, Madame Butterfly. And I've told this story, I think, on air before, but I got there the first day I got in. I went straight to the opera. They give you your packet and they tell you, okay, this is where you're staying. And we were staying back in the beginning of my career. We'd stay at what they call sponsored housing. So someone's house, if they had a pool house or if they had a basement apartment or something. So they gave me the address and I pull up and there they are. It's a pretty woman, a pretty mother and three beautiful like Aryan children, very cute. And I get out and she greets me and she says, "We have a separate pool house for you." She said, "My husband's an attorney. He's at work. You'll meet him later. He'll be home around 7, 8. He works late sometimes, maybe even 10 or 11. I said, "Okay." So she gives me the keys. I check in. I go back to the opera. I do a rehearsal. And then someone says, "Hey, you want to go to the only gay bar here in town? Just have a drink?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll go along and have a Coke. I don't drink alcohol, but I'll go." So I went and I'm standing there and I get a drink and this massive drag queen comes up to me. And she says, "How's it going?" I said, "Good. Can I buy you a drink?" And so I let her give me a drink, you know, and she says, "So I hear you were with the opera." And I said, "Yeah?" And she said, "Oh yeah." I said, "I love the opera." And I said, "Great." So she buys me a drink and we talk for a few minutes. I said, "Look, I got to go." "Well, listen, I'm on my way home if you want to meet me there." And I said, "Oh, no." I said, I got to go. I got to go home." So she leaves and I leave and, you know, I drive on home and I get home and I go into my little pool house and there's a knock on my door. And I think, oh, it's the house mother or whatever. Or maybe her husband got home and I opened the door and there's this 7-foot drag queen. And he goes, "Hi." And I said, "You followed me home?" And he goes, "Oh no, I live here." And it was her husband.
Wow.
Yeah.
You said, "Can I change it quickly?" In your
wait,
place?
Needless to say, I never went back to that damn bar. What?
So wait, so she knew that
No.
Oh.
She assumed
how did he
that
show up back at the house in full regalia, or he had cleaned himself up.
No, he was in full regalia. He said, "Come on, let me in real quick. Let me change." And I said, No. And he goes, "Come on, I thought you'd like this." I said, No. I said, "Dude, you live here? You're the husband?" Yeah. I said, "No." I said, "Fuck no. I'm out of here. Goodbye." And I slammed the door and I locked the door and I dropped my blinds. And the next morning he was gone to work and I didn't say anything, but I moved
next
out.
morning
the
you
next
saw the
day,
wife
and I moved
moving out of
into
the house.
No,
Yeah.
I moved out and I told him, I said, "Oh, you're a little far from the opera." And they said, "We're 2 miles." I said, "No, I like to be right in rehearsal. I like to be right on top of rehearsal." So I checked into the Marriott and that which cost my whole fee. And I stayed there for the next 2 weeks. Yeah.
More like Coxville, am I right?
Who knew?
Okay.
Yeah.
Guys, we're getting to the end of our program here now.
Damn it.
We asked you the other day, do you have a joke? And you said, "Well, the only joke I've ever written." Well,
Mhm.
do you know of a good joke besides the ones you've written?
No, I don't know any jokes. I told you the one joke that I know.
That's it. Huh?
I don't know any jokes.
Okay. Well,
And that's why you didn't want
there
to
you go,
go.
ladies and gentlemen.
Would your kids define you as funny?
Probably not. No.
But you are. You're funny. You're funny. But there's people who say things funny, and then there's people who say jokes. You know.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean, a lot of times I really do think I'm the least funny person in my household. My kids are often much funnier than me. My wife is often funnier than me. I'm mostly just the morose dude laying on the couch taking a nap.
Are they like, "When you go back to work, Michael, it's
Pretty
time"?
much.
Yeah. Dad, are you?
That's
gonna
what
go out
my
to
wife
the
would
job?
say to me. "It's time for you to go back at the road again."
Yeah. That's all right. Our kids don't consider us opera singers either. My kid is like, every time I start to sing, he's like, "Please stop.
They
Please."
tell me that my kids are like, I'm like, I asked them, do you want to do anything? Do you want to be an opera singer? They're like, hell no, fuck no. They say to me,
Why would I want to do that shit?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
You know, a couple of years ago, I was doing with the National Symphony Aida, and my nephew is the kid that plays Young Sheldon on television, right? And he came, and my son came to the performance, and they were like in the third row. And I look out, and Ian is like this. The whole opera, he's like, and I look next to him, my son's like this.
Exactly.
Fast asleep, arms sprawled out, couldn't give a shit. And afterwards, I said, how'd you think Papa did? And he goes, yeah, Papa, you couldn't see me sleeping? I said, I did see you sleep. And Ian's like, you're amazing. You're amazing. But, you know, that's.
Are your kids hard on you, Michael?
I mean, you don't want your kids to be like fans.
No,
you know, that's weird.
No, you're right. You're right. But so your kids, tell me about them. Do they like what you do? Are they cool? Do they watch what you do? Do they go back and watch?
They don't give a shit about what I do. They don't watch. They don't care.
Like
They're dismissive at best.
This is my son, Oliver.
Michael, I got to ask you a quick question, if you don't
Hi,
mind.
Oliver. I'm Michael.
I can't see anything on the screen. Is Oliver on there?
He was.
Go.
Yeah.
I love Oliver. He's a good boy.
Oliver said, you said something about Super Bowl rings?
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Tell him we have an NFL player on.
He has 2 Super Bowl rings.
Tell him we have a starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have 2 Grammys.
Oh, he says he has 2 Grammys.
And he's got 2
Well,
Grammys.
that's also pretty good. I mean, it's not as good as Super Bowl rings.
See what you started now.
So listen, guys, I want to thank Michael for coming on the show. You've been a good sport for this, really. And if any of our listeners want to ask Mike, I'm not saying that he'll get back to you or that I'll get back to you, but if you want to email us with your questions or comments, as long as they're nice,
Pass them along.
They can be mean.
I'll pass them along. Yeah, they can be mean. Or find them on Twitter and trash them on Twitter. So our email is operawithfries@gmail.com. And guys, you want to say anything?
Michael, this has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
The pleasure
really
has been mine. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you so
I usually
much.
talk much more than this. I'm just starstruck.
Yeah.
We appreciate you coming on, man. It's been great.
Yeah, thank you,
My
Michael.
pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
We
Thank you
have
so
to go
much.
read the books now.
Real quickly, How to Be Amazing. How many episodes have you done so far?
Well, we put it on hiatus about a year and a half ago. We've done about 110 or so episodes. But yeah, I mean, we may bring it back. It just consumed a lot of time.
Yeah, and you had Kathy on. You had Kathy
Griffin.
Kathy Griffin.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I like Kathy Griffin.
gotta get her on this show. Not as big as you, but
Much
I have her on.
Any projects that we can look forward to as soon as COVID is over?
Well, you can buy my
New
book,
books?
which just came out.
A Better Man.
And A Mostly Serious Letter to My Son.
Wait, are you saying the books, Michael? I didn't hear it. What's the
It's
name
out.
of your books?
A Better Man.
Better Man, A Mostly Serious Letter to My Son, in bookstores now.
Wonderful.
Are you doing any
Yes.
signings? As soon as COVID is over?
If COVID ever ends, then yeah. Until then, no.
Okay, so when you have a book signing and you have somebody who says he actually knows you, it's probably going to be me. So just at least you'd be like, I don't know that. I don't know that guy.
How many books in total do you have?
I don't know.
A lot.
Something like
Look,
9
the shelves behind him are all his books.
and like 4 or 5 for adults. Something like that.
Are there a lot of pictures in these, or is it mostly words?
Unfortunately for you, it's mostly words.
Oh, shit.
Bravo.
How many
Frank, I
pages?
gotta say, you have to do something with that fucking hair. That looks ridiculous.
What? My hair?
Hair. Take the rubber band out. Show
Are you
everybody.
serious?
Come on,
I look ridiculous with it up?
Ron. Show everybody Ron Jeremy.
Oh, my gosh. I had to have a mustache to be Ron Jeremy.
You could write a book of guys I've actually met, and that could
Sure.
be Frank could be a whole chapter there.
That's my long hair. It's a little wet because it doesn't dry that easy.
Look
All right,
great.
let's let Michael.
Better man, ladies
Michael,
and
get
gentlemen.
out of here, and
Michael
we'll
Ian
look
Black.
forward to your books, buddy. It
A better
sounds
man,
nice.
a better man.
Appreciate
Go
it.
buy
Thanks
a
for
better
having me on.
man. Thank you so much,
guys.
Mike.
Thank you, guys. I'm going to say it's been Opera with a prize, and thanks for joining us.
Much love. Thank you, Mike.